It was indeed a handshake that made headlines around the world during a cultural event at a Belfast theatre in June 2012. Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen, came face to face for the first time with former IRA commander Martin McGuinness, and they shook hands, which in some way, many would argue, helped pave the way to future peace talks and, relatively speaking, peace in Northern Ireland right now. She was also the first British monarch to visit the Republic of Ireland in May 2012. Well, I'm delighted to finish my stint here on GBNews TV and radio today with an old friend of mine, Eamonn Mallie, who has worked as a political reporter and broadcaster in and around Belfast and across Northern Ireland for a little longer than either of us would care, perhaps, to remember. I asked if they could get hold of you, Eamonn, and I'm thrilled that they could. Put in context for us, if you will, the importance of the late Queen to the peace process in Ireland.
It was incalculable, to be quite frank. The behaviour and the role the Queen played when she went to Dublin and visited Dublin Castle. And number one, she spoke Irish, which stunned people. And number two, she went to the Garden of Remembrance in Dublin to pay honour and to pay tribute to those people who fought for Irish freedom and historically fought her troops on the streets of Dublin and on the island of Ireland. And thirdly, she visited the home of the Gaelic Athletic Association in Ireland, the GAA, and British security force members killed a number of people in that particular football pitch at the start. And to do all of those three things in her capacity as Queen was just unimaginable. But the good offices of Mary McAleese, the then President of the Irish Republic, and the relationship which she had with the Queen delivered the Queen to that visit in Dublin. And she truly excelled. She went to see a performance of Riverdance when she was there, and she was embraced by the people of Cork, and she went impromptu walking around the streets of Cork. It was a remarkable time, and it engendered such a lot of goodwill. Now, of course, Sinn Féin boycotted that particular Dublin Castle event at which the Queen spoke so eloquently and said that she wished that what passed between Ireland and her own country hadn't come to pass or had been done in a different way. And it was an extraordinary gesture to the two histories and the two peoples. And arising from that, I suppose, that created the foundation for that famous handshake the following year at the Lyric Theatre in Belfast when she shook hands with Mark McGuinness, a former IRA leader.
And that in the context of Louis Mountbatten having been killed by the IRA. She didn't have to do that. It was suggested at the time that the Duke of Edinburgh, the late Duke of Edinburgh, didn't want her to do it.
Well, it's extraordinary because I covered Earl Mountbatten's killing in 1979 at Moor in County Sligo, and I also covered Narrow Water. That was the bombing at Warren Point in which 18 soldiers were killed. And yet the Queen was humble enough to shake hands with Mark McGuinness. And there's an irony about this. The man with whom that negotiation was done in the lead up to that handshake, it was one Mr. Christopher Geidt, who became the ethics officer within Boris Johnson's government and then resigned because of the behaviour of Boris Johnson. But it was Mr. Geidt who was central to arranging that meeting between the Queen and Mark McGuinness. But it was Republicans. They took the initiative to open that line of communication to the Queen and the royal household against the backdrop of the beat that they missed by not attending that function in Dublin Castle the previous year. So they had learned their lesson too.
Extraordinary. Eamonn, so good to reshare those memories with you, with the authority that you bring to the story. Thank you very much indeed. Eamonn Mallie there, who sharing his reflections there on the important role that the late Queen played in bringing peace to Northern Ireland.